I am so sorry about that. I don't normally get such late starts, but sometimes it can't be helped. Greetings, everyone. My name is Swirling Vortex. I know, you need to see my face. Yes, my name is Swirling Vortex, and or Coin, and or Steven. You can call me whatever you like. And welcome. Also, is it just me, or does that look a little muffled? Like a little blurry? I don't want this mask. I want... This first mask should do quite nicely. Okay. Yep. Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Grim Dawn. I'm gonna loosen this button just a little bit. Last time we did a lot. We made it to Homestead. We started taking out the Dermapterans. We pretty much finished off anything that had to do with the rotting croplands and the gruesome harvest and the infested farms. We explored the whole cave system that the Dermapterans were occupying. Let me just tilt this a little bit to the right. Other than that, we then started to kind of just explore, and in the process of exploring, hopefully make our way over to the conflagration and get that cannon situation sorted. We found a strange portal. We went in that strange portal, and it turns out it was Port Valbury. You can see up in the upper right-hand corner what the name is. Yeah, this is Port Valbury. And it is an arcane wasteland. Everything is green and aether fire. The water isn't clean. There are dead corpses everywhere. And it's raining. Oh, at absolute worst. Just absolutely unusable. Well, now we're going to go into Port Valbury. This is another challenge dungeon. You know what that means. We brought keys, 5 of them. Significantly harder. Torment, which were kind of meant to be hard, but when I went through Port Valbury a couple of times in a vanilla and in a previous DOM playthrough, like on my own time, I found there to be a significant spike in difficulty between these two. You're generally just at a higher level for both of them, which makes sense. But this time, I hope to be able to complete it. I've never actually fully progressed through Port Valbury, so I'm hoping to try to do that today. Not just for myself, but I want to do it for you guys. So that means this episode is mostly going to be about Port Valbury today, unless we somehow manage to get through it, which we have a build. This is our kind of build, that we could totally smork things with it if we want to. And of course, because I've never actually beaten it fully, I'm taking it seriously. I have brought all the materials. I've brought 19 dynamite, over 100 potions, over 100 elixirs and tonics. I even went out of my way to gear up with a new piece of gear, and proceeded to upgrade from a perfect topaz to an Ort rune from the D2 portion of the mod. The Ort runes are one of the few offensive upgrades that you can get for your armor. Most armor components are defensive in nature, so having something offensive is just going to be a great boon. The weakest portions of our gear now are the Transcendent Relic, the 2 rings, and the necklace, and the offhand. Even though this is an empowered version, if we wanted to, we could level up until around 68 or so. Then we would have access to better gear. But I feel like I should show you this now rather than later. This is going to be one of our longer term goals. I will spend an episode on this. I will not spend more than an episode on it. If we can't get it done, of course, what am I going to do? I'm going to gear back up, come back later, hopefully at a point where I can. Not much else to say, except let's just get in there. We're going to put a portal right here. We can't enter these except through a skeleton key, and the gate's shut behind us. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Also, I did level up one time off camera on the way to getting to this spot, by the way. I had to clear through all the trash again. So I've got one level. I have one level. So I waited. I went ahead and took care of the attribute point, but I waited until I was on camera to discuss what I intend on doing with the points as I see them. I'm pretty much going to attempt to make it all the way to frost armor or some other skill that will actually help us, defensively speaking, and then I'm going to just sink points into that. That's going to be the plan. Now, whether that is frost armor, elemental flow would be more helpful, but I don't think we're going to be able to get all the points we need for that. We'll see. Worst case scenario, I'll just invest it in elemental armoring or frost armor, and we can go from there. Let's get started. How's everyone doing on this fine day? I myself am doing okay. I apologize for being late. I had to grind this up, which took me about 40 minutes. And then I guess I lost track of time. Had to go outside, put some, I had to go outside, wash the trash can. We have a trash can. Found out that trash can has 2 holes in it, one underneath one of the rivets that is used to help keep the fused plastic together. And the other is a little bit of a bigger hole at the bottom of the trash can toward the side that the like the forklifts and stuff pick it up from. So that means our trash can's not currently usable. So I'd like to fix... I told the relevant people, told them to fix it, and they probably will. Just take some time. Other than that, I did lose track of time a little bit, and for that, I'm truly sorry. Ultimately, all of those are excuses. I could have been on stream today at the correct time with good time management, so I apologize. One last reminder before I step into this is that our buffs have changed, or I should say, our restrictions have changed from last time. We now have Drained, which decreases our health regen. Yay. Which means we need to port out ASAP and not let anything get involved in touching us. Monsters are armored, which it actually helps us because we have a lot of elemental damage. And then they're unstoppable, which means they move less, but this hurts us a lot because they can't be really slowed that much. They can't be stunned, frozen, entrapped, petrified. Like they're reduced durations on these things. 5% doesn't sound like much, but when you're trying to like kite things, 5% can make a big difference, and especially at the 20% mark. One way in which Port Valberry differs from the Steps of Torment is the structure and layout. The Steps of Torment were this kind of like flat area where, well, it was flat but an enclosed space. So, and this portion of Port Valberry is in fact the same. But the Steps of Torment were kind of meant to show... How do I word this? Like, each area is going to showcase the strengths of what lies within. What lies here. The Steps of Torment showcased chthonics using the narrow space to their advantage. Here, we're going to see the undead and the beastkin, who have been corrupted by them, take full advantage of the spaces that they were shoved in. This dungeon is home to an infamous council boss, which we will talk about a little bit after we beat them. They are very powerful. Additionally, even though the layout of this room will be the same, the enemies you'll find here will be different each time. Just like our last challenge dungeon, the Steps of Torment, you have to repeat from a point of failure, so you really, really, really don't want that to happen. Also, in the Steps of Torment, we only had one path to take. Here, we have two paths to take.
I can't do that yet.
And that's just the initial difference. Again, I have not beaten this particular challenge dungeon. I've gotten as far as beyond the foundation, but then I think that's about the halfway point. So after that, yeah, I kind of don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just going to be doing my best to try to survive and sort of make it through the region unharmed. Yeah, so I guess let's just dig right in. This first portion makes me think we're going to be running into some slith here, but that's not going to be the case. Oh, also, I'm forgetting. When we're here, we don't want to be running into... We don't want to be picking up too many lootables. We definitely have no idea how long we're going to be here. Also, our character has great resistances to the elements and absolutely no resistance to acid or poison. And because we don't have any resistance to acid or poison, that means we need to be really careful while we're in here. Very, very, very careful. As you can see, stuff is hitting us quite hard for right now. Later on, when we get toward the more humanoid opponents who will probably prefer an elemental attack over some other stuff that's going on, it may become less of a problem for us. I'm basically just trying to stay out of the way and let our like crystal pets do a lot of the talking. And yeah, a totally different play style later, and we have beaten that particular boss. Although here comes another one. And of course, poison is particularly insidious. As proof, we have 6%. Speaking of which, I don't know why I'm going through a portion of this without actually having applied any elixirs. Let's fix this. Aether resistance. Had I known there would be acid, I totally would have brought some. Instead, we're just going to have to put on the resistances that actually matter. Next time I'll bring in the acid stuff. And of course, any chance we get to, like, turbo the enemy out of existence from one section or another, we should totally just take it. Ah, and a lot of blockages. That I also remember. Lots and lots of blockages. Hopefully our damage will be more than enough to make up for whatever we're lacking in other departments. So far, so good. Our elixirs are definitely helping. And basically, unless it's visually striking, we only pick up components in here. Beautiful. Just beautiful. The carnage is exquisite. Fortunately, once we run out of our stat boosters, though, that's when things could become problematic. Okay, see, one nice lootable, two nice lootables. Lootables. Mr. Beast's new chain of loot boxes. I'm joking. I'm just trying to do something to keep this entertaining and stop it from being, let's watch Coin, or Swirling Vortex, you know, drag himself through an ARPG. Nice, nice. We're picking up. Even an epic item has decided, or gosh darn it, World of Warcraft. A legendary item has decided to grace itself, like make itself known to us. Beautiful. Buffs are looking okay so far. I can see that the elemental storm is also doing a lot of work. I really doubt changing a single piece of gear is going to help us that much, but it shouldn't be zero. Really, the elixirs are what's doing it, and not anything else. Alright, we have made our way through this first section, which about lines up with what we were doing in the Steps of Torment, where the very first floor was kind of tiny, and then the second floor was much, much bigger. I suspect we'll be outdoors in just a second. Yep, I called it. Surprise, I also remember going through here. Here we also expected to pick up a lot more blueprints. I'll have to be really careful about this. Basically, our tiny 4K health pool needs all the help it can get. If I get the chance to show it off, I did also, like, transmogrify into new gear. And I will absolutely take the chance to show that off. Just, you know, making sure not to get my butt beat before I get the chance to do it. It's not that I think this particular transmog is very good or anything. I just, any more of you coming down that like, hole in the building there? Yep, on the left-hand side. Even more of you. Just a never-ending army of the undead. Sounds about right. We have a ton of effects making their way, or like parking it in front of that place. We are probably going to pick up a few greens inevitably. Just take that one and chuck it back on the ground. And do the same thing with that one we just got. Alright, I guess while I've got a second, learn... Oh god. You know what? If there's anything that Grim Dawn will teach you is not to take the enemy lightly, and never assume you've got time you don't have. Always be sure of whatever it is you're saying. Okay. Port Valbury Mayor's Journal, Part 1. It has become quite obvious that I have angered some very determined enemies. No less than 3 assassination attempts in as many weeks. Outrageous! My position is not that important to the Empire to warrant such aggression, nor am I despised by any of the factions within the city, not to my knowledge. No, this doesn't feel politically driven. It's as if it were a personal vendetta, with the identities of the assassins pointing in several disparate directions. It is difficult to paint the full picture. I need more information. My advisors now insist I have 4 guards with me at all times. What a bother. Advisor Aldrich has suggested that until we know more about the nature of my attackers, that I should avoid all public hearings to minimize risk. I believe he is using this as an opportunity to solidify his position, but he is not wrong either. For now, I will play to his tune and stay out of public affairs. Aldrich and the rest of the council will attempt to tend to the public, while I delve to the bottom of this plot against me. Sure, you don't think Aldrich... I mean, what your gut says Aldrich was involved, right? Your gut says, oh man, I probably really shouldn't be trusting everything this council has to say. You follow your gut, folks. With the Ethereals, they want you to overthink. They want things to be complicated, or they'll take advantage of your gutsy nature. This kind of depends. Oh, the Ethereals are extremely crafty adversaries. Very crafty adversaries. And they too never let a good crisis go to waste. At any chance they can to foment any, instability inside human civilization, they will do it. So here's my transmog in the top middle of the screen. I went for like a bone lich aesthetic today. Basically it's based on the fact that my helmet is brand new. And because my helmet is brand new, okay, let's get out of there. Because there's poison everywhere and not a drop of antidote. Okay. Good, good, good. Very good. Also, yeah, we can't really be face-taking too many things for too long. Like, at all. If there's loot that's just in, like, this huge trail of aether, it is probably lost to the four winds. It is ill-advised to pick up such loot. And additionally, I feel like our luck is already about to run quite thin with... Yep, especially with that going on. Yep, let's just do as much as we can to slow him down. Bearing in mind that that will have reduced efficiency because of the buffs in here. They are weaker to us. That is one thing I will say. They are weaker to us. So we should take full advantage of that fact and try to crank out as much as we can. Also doing everything we can to keep this space crowd controlled will be to our advantage. And yes, I'm aware we leveled up, but not right now. Now with so many things just lying outside waiting to murder us. More aether crystals. Alright. Now that we're here, let's take just a second. Get some more cunning. We most assuredly need it. And then 2 more points into Elementalist. Our build is progressing nicely. Once we hit like the 70 mark, like the 74, 75 mark, we really will just be scrounging around for extra points. I don't have to lob a single shot at you, good sir. See what I mean? Recognize the situations where you have to kite stuff. And really, kiting builds are always the smart play. You just have to be aware of when you have limited space to do that. And you'll be fine. We have... Yeah, we have space to keep them separated. Let's do that. Back in here. I just wanted to make sure I definitely showed off that transmog. I did spend the tiniest amount of time working on it. No, I don't always wreath myself in lightning and call it a day. I'm not that obvious with my transmogs. I do like a lot of different kinds of transmog. Like, being able to dress myself up, I always did spend a little bit more time than the average raider when I was playing World of Warcraft, trying to make myself look pretty. Hey, if you're gonna die a bunch of times, and you haven't actually released your spirit yet, why not leave a pretty looking corpse? Okay, we're trying to get this talisman. Alright, we got the talisman. Great. Even though we are trying to just, like, path our way through this place, we should make sure we've gotten all the lore today. I know. It's really not a good idea to be doing this. But we've pretty much gotten everything we wanted out of the Steps of Torment. Here, again, I've never been. Um, and I know that's influencing a lot of my decisions as well. But I definitely know if I haven't been, I can't talk about it. And if I can't talk about it, we can't talk about it. So we should definitely make sure we can talk about it, because it's important stuff. Okay, anything making its way across the bridge? Yep, slowly, one enemy pack at a time. Also, only the places where the Aether Lightning is more intense is it actually dangerous. Okay, coming in through here or not? Alright. So you don't have to, like, find these obscure paths that avoid all the cracks of Aether in the ground. The only one that's actually really dangerous. Gotta be careful. I say that a lot. You know, I do my best to not repeat myself over and over again. Because I know that makes for very bland commentary. But everyone has their trigger words at the same time. Everyone has... Okay, getting out of that. And popping a potion. Because I don't trust my survival, rate for a single second. Alright, that's better. But everyone has their fallback phrases. Their fillers, I guess would be another way to put it. Progress in Old Town. What a random bit of lore. Let's read. As you requested, I have made contact with many of the less reputable arrivals here at port. I made it clear to them that big changes are on the horizon, and permitted them to smuggle in contraband unchecked. In exchange, some of the sailors are now working for me to spread rumors, gather information, and eliminate unwanted interruptions if need be. The rumor regarding an impending rise in taxes has caught like wildfire, and townspeople are rightfully displeased. We've also successfully diverted all garbage collection to the already overflowing dump in Old Town. The nearby homeowners are naturally very upset by this, and I suspect complaints will soon be arriving at the mayor's offices for you to intercept. So long as you keep the mayor oblivious to the larger problems arising in Port Valbury, we should be able to stir up a mob within weeks. Already I'm receiving word of growing dissent in taverns and secret gatherings to discuss city matters. The city is reaching a boiling point. The fear-mongering regarding witches has also turned up far more candidates than we ever anticipated. Paranoid or simply selfish people. People are reporting their neighbors for completely innocuous acts, but it is all the excuse the city guard needs to apprehend these women and bring them to the docks, where new associates smuggle them to Malmouth. I take particular delight when I see a noblewoman brought through my doors, knowing that some rich, pompous family is forever ruined by rumors and spite. But it will not be long before they all burn for the injustices they enjoyed for generations. Oh no! When eating the rich becomes eating the population. We've reached a new level of insanity. Level up? Question mark? Nah, I'm just kidding. These are absolutely depraved things. There's a difference between making sure people are being held accountable and this. Annihilating humanity for the injustices of, like, a class of people is wrong. It's interesting, because I kind of saw, like, a section of the Reddit website that was dedicated to people who were basically saying, we're completely ham-boned, there's not a single ounce of redemption left in human society, the apocalypse can't come fast enough, you know, we're all gonna suffer, but let's just make sure we suffer quickly, so the rest of the planet can get on about its business without humans. And, you know, I wasn't really surprised stumbling into it, but at the same time, how the world has just gone to complete hell. And it's something I don't understand. I do understand it, but my brain is struggling to accept it. Have we really allowed society to reach a point where people are gathering up in large clusters on a website to talk about the doom of the world rather than actually doing something about it? Maybe we have. Because maybe everything has been corrupted. I don't know. But seeing stuff like this, where it's like you could clearly see, the corruption happening on the inside and the outside. You're thinking to yourself, oh God, you know, how is this going to end? Do people find the corrupting force, or are they fully corrupted by it? Just put these 2 greens away. Last night I heard somebody scream. No, yeah, okay. When I went upstairs to check, I saw some people wandering the streets, but it was strange. It was a strange, aimless sort of walk. Nobody spoke. Then I heard the scream again, and I turned my head to a most grisly sight. Putrid thing of foul flesh dragged a man out of some rubble and disemboweled him. I stifled a scream of my own and quickly ran back downstairs. All the commotion had caused my husband to stir, and he stood up for the first time in days, but his eyes were glazed over and dull, and his movements were like the people outside. His skin was chalk white, and his chest did not move with the rhythmic beating of the living. Hand shaken, I grabbed the revolver he gave me and pointed it at his head. He didn't talk. He didn't even try to move out of the way. He just kept approaching me in a slow, unsteady gait. At that point, I understood what wandered at the streets outside, and I clenched my tear-swollen eyes as I pulled the trigger. I can't sleep anymore. My husband's body lies... Wow, I think my mouth's stuck there. My husband's body lies next to me, a hole in his skull. There's nothing left for me here. It's time to go before no hope of escape remains, before my strength has left me. I have to run until my legs can't carry me no further, away from Valbury, away from my shattered life. Page Rennell. Page Rennell, okay. That might not be correct, but it's how my mouth has chosen to struggle with it. Please handle it. No, I'm kidding. If someone is willing to correct me on that, I'll totally correct the record. Also, am I on YouTube right now? I just noticed that I may or may not be live on YouTube. I really hope I am. But this is... well, I would check my phone, but... no good. Let's let my phone charge. I did see the, broadcast on, YouTube. So I'm going to assume that I'm live, but I'm real paranoid about that stuff. Yeah, so we're really at that portion of town where we're just kind of, gotta wait for that to dissipate, where, we're really learning that, things reached a critical mass in Port Valbury, and the Ethereals have just fully taken it over, fully commandeered it.
I can't do that yet.
And, the situation is just hopeless. You're outnumbered by the enemy. You don't know what to do. So you realize that your loved one has fallen prey to the same evil that overtook it, that overtook the rest of the city. You just you close your eyes, shoot your shot, and then prepare to leave. That's all you can do is flee. Just flee. Go. Never return. The story is so sad, but, a lot of people might maybe now that 2023 is here and everything is just going to hell so fast, maybe people would be more apt to say that the Grim Dawn might be an accurate reflection of our own world. Because what if we left, except society rapidly disintegrating into nothingness before our eyes, and the people who will be hurt the most by such a disintegration won't be the elite. It'll be the rest of us fighting on scraps to survive. And the worst part of it is we won't even feel sorry, because humanity will have already been degraded to a point where the infighting, the lack of trust, the division will have won, proving that humanity as an experiment is a failure, and the Lord should just wipe this earth, and if he's willing, just start it over again. Start over by whatever definition the Lord is going to use. I'm not supporting... and to be very, very clear, I'm not supporting any amount of apocalypse. I'm just saying, I guess I'm just lamenting at the state of the world, and I find it very sad that I can even draw the conclusions. I can find parallels between this game and our own world, but sometimes that's what games do to you. They make you think. You really have to read. Interesting. Several of our neighbors have moved away. They've had enough of the growing garbage problem and the sudden surge in crime. Here in the old town, Omir and Shara are the latest to leave. Shara was crying when she begged us to come with them, but our business is here and we can't just pack up. Food around the city is starting to be rationed. Shops are closing. Alden and I are keeping our shop open, but he has started hiding cheese and other food down in the basement just in case, he says. I wonder if maybe Shar was right. Maybe we should be leaving too. Yup. The port before the storm. When the Ethereals begin instituting countermeasures or emergency power, like setting up a situation where, emergency powers are declared by the powers that be, and on top, like, authoritarianism takes over, then we really do see how the chips start to just fall into place. It's really not too dissimilar to what happened in 2019 when COVID hit. Everyone and their mother wanted the governments to do something, and what was the response, predictably? Because it had to be that response. There couldn't be another response. You either had people who were skeptical and ignored, or you had people who locked up, locked down, put on masks, took the shots, and obeyed every order that the government issued. Anyone who dared to question or resist was arrested, or people found reasons to arrest them. We saw this throughout 2021 and 2022, or 2020, excuse me, when COVID was at its height. Now, am I a gratuitous supporter of authoritarianism? No, I'm not. But in the face of an unknown crisis that may or may not be affecting the whole species, and you ask the government to do something, what are they going to do? They're going to tell you what to do, tell you to stay in place, tell you to take whatever serum they give you that may or may not help you, and the rest is up to the Lord be willing, or whatever higher power you choose to believe in, or in random luck if you believe in nothing at all. People can't be surprised that the events play out that way. Like I said, it's sad that I can even draw these kinds of parallels to real life. Now, granted, our world doesn't have magic or demons or, portals into the realm of the occult, no matter how madly people try to put together those ports. You know, people who, you know, have these bloodletting. Excuse me. Good lord, what was that word? Or cult-like rituals to summon devils or extraplanar beings into the world. The world is going down rather than up currently. And, you know, for us millennials, we're inheriting that. And we're leaving our children to inherit that. Because we, in fact, can't do anything else. And if we do, it's going to uproot society as we know it and leave our children with something entirely unknown to inherit. It's strange. Nice. Okay, let's go ahead and collect those pages. Come back, get that chest. And then we could find out more about, page rental. Page rental. Okay. Alright, let's get out of there before that worsens. And pop a potion before things get too intense. Believe we now have parts 1 through 3 and 5. We're missing part 4. But, you know, that's the strange thing about Apocalypse is, oh lord, I don't know what that lag was. Men broke it. At this point, I'm going to drop the voice, because that's getting a little bit strenuous. Men broke into the shop. They cleaned out the store and shattered Alden's leg when he resisted. The bone was sticking right through the skin of his thigh, and I don't know what to do. The only doctor's in Hightown, but the bridge has been blocked off by the guard. I wrapped it as best as I could, but it still bleeds occasionally. We've been hiding in the basement since that night. Alden wakes up from time to time, but he seems confused and feverish. We should have left weeks ago when the others did. Occasionally I hear someone entering upstairs and rummaging through the shelves. I hope that they don't discover the stairwell leading down here. I'm so scared. Okay. Life has been good for us here in Port Valbury. Okay, this gives us the picture of the events just before the problems began to really escalate. Life has been good for us here in Port Valbury. Alden and I have been happily married for 3 years now. Our business is thriving, and Alden was hopeful to get a second shop opened in Hightown by this time next year, but he came home from the court disappointed. Apparently, the mayor has been denying all requests for an audience, and his newly appointed High Advisor dismissed Alden's appeal for a deed without even hearing his case. Now there's the mess with the garbage spilling out of the old dumping ground. Everyone I've asked doesn't seem to know anything about why trash has been redirected to the already full dump in our district. The new curfew also hasn't been kind to business, as we've had to close down our shop early each night. Omir and Shara are both terrified. They think something is wrong and we should all leave the city. Alden says there's nothing to be concerned about. Yep. The port before the storm, and people were called insane for seeing those signs way, way earlier on. Those are the people you really listen to in a crisis. Well, and by listen to, I mean believe them when they say that, you know, something is coming, but maybe don't necessarily fully follow them down the cliff if their solution is to jump. Especially if you do in fact have more time than that. Look, when multiple crises are bound everywhere, it really is quite taxing to take a second and just think about what's happening. Sometimes you don't have a second to think, but, you know, that's why it's important to take the second to think before the crisis gets really bad, and you don't have that time of luxury. You just gotta make the decision. I know, I'm saying all this, and it seems like it's just Just, think more carefully, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'm saying all this in kind of a semi-vacuum. I am very aware that, in a real crisis, you probably really do have to make a lot of really tough calls, but you still have to do your best to think through all of that anyway. Think anyway, even if you don't have the time. Of course, he says this as he was quite literally being told not to think, so what does Coin know? Right? Games like, I'll show you, you have time to think. I'll show you exactly how little time you have to think. And the game's right, to some extent. Really, in like this hyper-volatile environment, you have very little time to think to yourself. Everyone is constantly going after you. Like I said, like the description states, this place is a war zone. This place is not your friend. It won't, it won't park the slith in a remote portion of the swamp just so you can pass by. It's going to throw it in your face, and you're going to be expected to deal with it. This game is just fierce like that. Okay, definitely don't wait to pop a potion. I would say you're the significant wretch here, good sir, not me. Nice, we get some loot. Some shiny loot. Is it Captain Karen? I think it's Captain Karen. I love Solasta. Good game. Excellent game. It's a little bit of a meme, but it is a good game. And by the meme, what I mostly mean is I respect the effort that the devs put into Solasta, but some of the sound effects are just... I can't take the plot seriously. I can't take the game seriously when it's said. I can't break up the fact that, while any of the voices are there... Yeah, actually... I probably really shouldn't be saying what I was about to say, so I'm not. Instead, I will say, it is lamentable that the voices are so limited in what they have. Like, there are 5 total voices, right? You have 2 definitely male, 2 definitely female, and there's the 3rd voice that's the in-between, right? So the idea is that the 3rd voice is for, like, the non-binary portion of the character roster, whatever that might be, but I don't know. The fact that there are only 5 total voice types makes it a little bit grating to be like, oh, yes, this is supposed to be a trans person or a non-binary person, but it's the same voice. So what am I supposed to think? No, I'm definitely aware of the fact they're trans, and please don't take this as, ugh, I dislike trans people or anything. I definitely don't. I just think the voices in Solasta are like the byproduct of not having enough voice types to distinguish. Like, the non-binary pool should definitely at least have gotten a second voice. Like, a second voice to pick from. So it was at least even, but hey, what are you gonna do? When your budget is limited, you do what you can. And I believe Solasta was made a little bit before the, I don't want to say craze, that's not right. A little bit before the call for, hey, we want more representation in these kinds of games, was really profound and really made its mark in the D&D sphere. Before that, Solasta kind of had the voices split up a certain way, in a more traditional way, whereas now they are split up into more ambiguous distinctions, and that is fine. But no, Solasta is... There's nothing wrong with the game, it's just memey. And really, it's memey to me. and not anything else. That's right, come this way.
Can't do that yet.
Yeah, acid eats us like, you know, like a knife through butter. So we gotta take it seriously. Of course, I say that, and I say that about everything we have to take seriously. But I really do mean it. I can't really be any more emphatic than I'm already being, besides actually yelling into the freaking mic and making exaggerated faces at people, which I can do, but I don't like it, and I look bad doing it. So I'd really just rather not. Trying to be really mindful of that aether spout or aether vortex that I see there. What the heck? Not good. Need to keep moving. Okay. I wasn't sure if we were gonna die right there. And I would take a break, except that, you know, I'm not really sure how much latitude I have to take a break right now. Okay, gotta be careful. Just trying my best not to die. Luckily, those are all green, so I don't really have to waste time plucking them. I always do worry about that. Alright. I don't have to waste time worrying about picking up greens. That is always the fear in these kinds of places, that you do have to worry about standing in crap to pick up crap, and that... Oh, that always just... really has me scared, especially in places like this. Of course, we have to do this for blues, and that could be quite the problem. We're really not supposed to be standing in stuff. Oh, come on. And the Stone of Jordan. Okay, maybe we could try to, like, keep going this way?
That skill's not ready.
Ugh. And now all of a sudden I am definitely running loose. Careful. Yep, these are the kinds of situations that really have me anxious. I definitely prefer to be in control of my own faculties and not be pincered in at some location or another. There's the Aether Barrier. Okay, we can in fact... I do not like the fact that I see two Aether Barriers. Is this boss? We also saw a portal into like a castle or... Oh, okay. Jaren the Plague Warped. Jaren's Journal. What have I done? We're also still missing like the Portmaster's initial entry. Page rental part 4. Alden hasn't woken up in a day. I tried to make him eat or drink something, but he can't keep anything down. He's so pale. He's going to die soon. I think I've known this fact for days, but I just didn't want to believe it. The looters have stopped coming by, likely because there's nothing left to steal. I braved the upstairs to see what has happened since the fighting stopped, and the sight was terrifying to behold. Parts of the city are burning. Most of the homes are abandoned or destroyed. One day I witnessed a couple running between buildings with their child and a small sack of belongings. I should leave too, but I can't leave Alden. I don't understand how the city could turn to this so quickly. One moment, we were planning the next stages of our business. The next, the city's in a state of war. The worst of it seems to be over, though. It's been quiet. So quiet. Oh, the quiet before the storm, honey. The quiet before the storm. Oh, God, please don't crash. I don't want to have to do this again. And then the other one. I'm writing this for the record that in the event that the High Advisor decides to dispose of me, as he already has with the others, I'm beginning to fear I've made a grave error in supporting Van Aldrich in this uprising. The initial plan was devious, but it made sense. Local sailors spread rumors of corruption and tax hikes, while the city guard overlooked the crimes committed by my subordinates to stir up gossip. I became a bit uneasy when we started using the rumors about witches to smuggle women to Malmouth, but Aldrich reassured me that they would be well taken care of and we were paid handsomely for each one. So I chose not to question it. One evening when we gathered to discuss future plans, Aldrich suddenly began acting very strange. He kept looking over his shoulder as if somebody were watching, and his expression became downright ghastly when he stared at the mirror hanging on my wall. He cut the meeting short and demanded that all future discussion be carried out via courier. Very strange, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Figured the old man was getting paranoid as his plans came to fruition. That left me to deal with Captain Brastock directly. I've never met a more cruel and opportunistic man in my life, and I know every sailor that comes through these parts. I can't imagine it took much to convince him to join the High Advisor's schemes. He informed me that the reports of witches were coming in too slowly, so his men began planting weapons in people's homes to warrant arrests. Each ship sailing to Malmouth is now overflowing with would-be criminals. What Aldrich needs all these people for is beyond me. It was not until the day Aldrich asked me to transport several large boxes to him in Hightown that I started to suspect something was amiss. Seemed innocent enough at the time, until one of the crane ropes snapped and a crate dropped several feet onto the cobblestones. The wood splintered in several places, and a sickening smell flared up our nostrils and made our skin crawl. The crate shook as if something was alive in there. I could make out a faint green light through the cracks in the side. I had my men carry that thing out of my docks as soon as possible. But it was not until the day of Captain Brastock's very bloody public execution that I began to suspect we were all merely pawns in Aldrich's game, and that in the end the only winner of this uprising would be none other than the High Advisor himself. Needless to say, I'm keeping a close eye on the mayor's offices, and I doubled the pay of my bodyguards. Aldrich isn't going to get rid of me so easily. Well. The portmaster grew a spine. Entirely too late, of course, but he did grow one. Unfortunately, I feel like I just left the perfect place to take a break, so we're gonna go back there and take that break. With the added upside of pausing the screen. Now, because I'm going to be pausing the screen, I'm going to keep that break really short, like 2 minutes, tops, 2 to 3 minutes. Enough time for me to relieve myself, grab a tissue, and get back. So, I feel like I need to be taking these breaks regularly often just to keep my legs from, numbing up. And I know it's YouTube. I generally pride myself on taking fewer breaks, but I need it for my health. And, nature's calling, so I'm going to take a break regardless. I'll see you guys after the next 2 to 3 minutes. Sorry about that. I am back. Told you I would keep it short. Just went, cleaned my ears, relieved myself, and we are good to go. So that pretty much takes care of anything that isn't that giant ominous building where I can only assume the Overlord Aldrich must be. Come on now, it's not too difficult to put 2 and 2 together. I can totally predict that we're gonna fight a big bad inside the big bad castle. That's not strange, not even in the slightest. Also, you could totally tell that they dumped toxic refuse into the overflowing old dump until it broke, because we took quite a lot of damage trudging through that sewer. We took a lot of damage trudging into that sewer. Just absolutely criminal. Okay, the fort entrance has its... The fort entrance has its own... Oh, God. And we can't put a portal here because it's still part of the challenge dungeon. Unfortunate. And of course, the inside of the fort is just as riddled with these crackling bits of aether as any place else. You think the fort would be a little bit more pristine, but you have to remember, the ethereals don't care in the slightest. Because they're immune to it. They are of aether. It's humans. Another living wildlife that get corrupted by stepping into the patch. Just gotta be on your toes. This has to be... Nope, I take that back. We're in Hightown. So this is gating Hightown. Good to know. Should have figured there was a lot more to it. Okay, I do not know which spot is the best place to go, so I guess we're just gonna pick a direction and see what sticks. And if you're not sure, usually the correct answer is run. Run as fast and as far as you possibly can. Run until you can't run any further, and then find a way to run further. Correct answer, when you're a fragile, delicate caster, is to run. If you're never sure, run. No one will think less of you for doing it. Huh. So they all died. That's either really fortuitous or amazing. We must be able to get up. Gotta be careful I don't tilt the camera too fast or else it could crash. They gotta be able to get from point A to point B somehow. I'm not really seeing anything in terms of the house that would point us in that direction. Huh. I guess the houses should have given that away, huh? I guess we'll try to move right until we can go left. Okay. Pop a potion right here for the love of God and everything that is holy. Please don't die here. I feel like we're only halfway. Ugh. You coming closer or not? So how is everyone liking the game so far? You know, one nice thing I can really say about Dawn of Masteries is that it really doesn't change the story or the plot a significant amount, if any at all. Everything I've seen so far is everything you can expect to see in the base game. There's no like, oops, we just decided to put a Godskin Noble in the elevator because I think it would be fun. Kurtifer has to know that people are going to rag on them about that. No matter how good they think that design decision is, there'll always be people who find GSN too frustrating to play with and just not want to do it. I mean, I'm sure I will be fine. And look, ultimately at the end of the day, a mod author has every right to make their mod the way they want to make it. And if people don't like it, they can suck it up, make their own mod, learn how to deal with the challenge, and or just recommend to other people that don't like GSN, don't play the mod. It's not hard. It takes zero effort to just literally not dogpile on the man for the person for the choices that they made. I don't know Kurnifer's not sexual, but I don't know their gender. I don't know their sex. I can't really be saying that. Gotta be careful, people. Always respect anonymity. Respect the fact that things are ambiguous. And don't label people with unwarranted labels, of which sex and gender can now be considered part of that. Although recently, I've read in the paper that I've read in the paper, I read online in a few articles that, you know, people are now taking to using all pronouns, just any and all of them, doesn't matter what it is, to identify with. And now that I don't think that response is genuine, there are probably some people who do not, who are labeled queer and don't want to be labeled one way or another with their gender or their sexual identity. That might change. But I can't help but feel as if some of it is like just a potential, I don't want to be othered. And othering someone, it can be really quite awful. Othering is like the modern day equivalent of us versus them. You're putting that person in a them camp, and that's not cool. Because when you other someone, you tend to do it for discriminatory reasons, and not because and usually not. Don't other someone. I'm born to the human condition. Humans other people without effort all the time. I will level up in just a second. I'm keeping an eye. Oh, for some people, using more than one set of pronouns is more about mixing of them. I, for example, use he, they. I like people to learn to use them I would like people to use them interchangeably for the most part. Fair enough. Also, hey there, Rowan. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Hope you enjoy your stay. How are you doing? We are, and this gives me an opportunity to sort of, not that we can't keep talking about this, but I just want to make sure new people coming in know what we're doing. So we are currently in Port Valbury. It won't say on the map, but that is where we are. We are in a challenge dungeon, which means this is a part of the game that resets. And it resets per death, not per logout. So basically the way Grim Dawn works is that it works in the game session is what it calls it. The game session, anything that is once a game session, like bounties and stuff, repeatable quests you get from a faction table, Those reset every time you log out. Challenge dungeons reset every time you walk into or out of them. They require a skeleton key to open them. One key, one attempt. If you die, you have to do the challenge dungeon all over again. And of course, the challenge dungeons have the same maps each time, but the enemies respawn every time you come in, and they're different enemies each time. They're still within the theme of the challenge dungeon. I almost said legacy. They're still on theme, but they're random. You can fight the bosses over and over again. I think those are about the only consistent part of the challenge dungeons, and there's about one per act. I'm alright, a bit tired. Had physical therapy today, so you're definitely wiped. I'm sorry to hear that. Sounds like my stepmom. She is often floored for a hot minute after therapy. That sounds like an interesting way to handle quest repeatables. Does this game play like Diablo/Fate? I don't know about Fate, but it plays like Diablo in some senses, but it plays more like Path of Exile in others. Where in Path of Exile you have like three main systems, right? You have the armor, the skills you get off armor, the skills you get off of like enhancements, if any, and the skills you get off some sort of secondary tree, right? Well, in Grim Dawn, you have two classes you take. These form up the masteries of your choice. The masteries are your primary skills. These are what you have access to all the time, but once you pick them, you're stuck with them. So if you pick, I don't know, I think in Path of Exile, you have a base class. You have like a number of skills that belong to a base class, but once you have that base class, you're stuck with it. It's the same thing with this. We're primarily a Scintillist, an Elementalist as secondary, and we're stuck with whatever's here. Yeah, that is one you're familiar with. You haven't played much lately. PoE never seems as fun to me without friends. PoE is free, though, as far as I understand. So that means that's the kind of game that's eligible with, like, community stuff. It's a great community game, from the way I understand it. So maybe one of these days, after we're done with Grim Dawn and I'm not having to make up projects, we could take a crack at PoE, and we could really, because we'll have played Grim Dawn first, we could see what elements of this did Grim Dawn borrow. Because PoE came first, and Diablo came before that. I'm fairly sure. In terms of the quests, I don't know. That part seems more like Diablo. You have like one-time quests that show up as part of the main story, and the main story's told in acts. We're in Act 3 right now. So that part I would say is like Diablo 3 especially. And then you have all these places that you can go to that offer these one-time deals. One-time quests or one-time experiences. Not that you can't do them again, but you can only run through and attempt them either once per gameplay session or, one time as you advance through the story. One of those two methods. And then every faction in Grim Dawn has a bounty table, and you can pick up to 5 bounties to do in order to grind your reputation. Because in regular Grim Dawn, I will read that statement in just a second. In Grim Dawn, vanilla, you probably do not get the chance to complete all of the factions up to Revered. You probably stop Honored. You probably get up to Honored or maybe halfway there and then have to grind it through the bounty tables. And you can only unlock the bounty tables by completing the main story. Whereas in Dawn of Masteries, it seems like the reputation is definitely much higher. You're killing more stuff. Part of that also does depend on enemy density. We're playing with a higher enemy density, so we're getting a lot more reputation, which unlocks the bounty tables that much faster, but by the time we actually get to use the bounty table, we don't need it. But I imagine that's how it's supposed to work in vanilla. where you go through the main story, you have a bunch of reputations that you have to grind up, you go to the bounty table, you pick up a quest, and then you log in and out over and over and over again until you've ground up the necessary reputation to get the high-end gear and augments. Kind of similar to Diablo Adventure Mode in Diablo 3, where the Adventure Mode is where you go to grind up greater rifts, to grind up, like, speed rifts, and some other stuff. Speaking of Diablo, have you seen preview clips of the newest one? I think I saw Lobos Jr. on Twitch, like, play through a one or two chunks of it, but I kind of want to see the game for myself, so I've been avoiding spoilers. I will probably have to talk about it at some point, though, because I do want Diablo 4. I just gotta be in a position to buy it first. I gotta make $600, like, spread out over the next 4 months, which isn't very good. I've had a couple of hidden expenses show up, and I've had to handle them. So I'm kind of light on game purchases right now, but I will be keeping my eye on it. Rest assured. Diablo is a series I also want to cover. It does look very good. I've seen the photos. Diablo 4, for all that Blizzard's been through, the art dev team, or like the assets they are able to get, have been very good. Hopefully they're paying their artists more this time. Sorry to hear about financial troubles. Mom and I are well aware of those as well. Yeah, and they suck. They're worse for you two than they are for me. But still, it stinks. It might even affect the Roll20 stuff. We'll see. I am going to at least make sure I've pulled up enough money for Roll20 for 1 more year. But hopefully by that point, after that 1-year payment, we'll be successfully transitioned to Foundry, another virtual tabletop software. For those who don't know, I am walking anywhere except where I'm supposed to go. Let me turn this around. Okay. And it would help if I were facing north on the compass. What time of year do you re-up your payment? I think it's in December. The Nintendo membership also renews at that time, around December or so. It might be October. Either way, it should be right on the border of when I would get my next student refund. So we should have plenty of time, but it depends on the rate we go. It really does. And it also depends on when I have everything set up for the next portion of the tabletop side quest. For those who maybe don't know, I run a tabletop with a group of friends every second Saturday or so. We rotate out. Play group plays every second Saturday, and I maybe rotate out every one of those 2 Saturdays. And my campaign I would describe as a high-octane Mythic Plus Pathfinder 1E. Oh god. Okay, this is not the best time to be talking about this. The game is very quick to remind you not to dawdle or say random stuff, or the game will punish you. I think we should be able to get you fully moved into Foundry by then, and even if not, we might be able to get you down into the 2nd tier if we only need it for archive purposes. Yeah, really, I guess the plan, I'm going to commit to it now, is just to kind of run through the maps I have for the side quest you guys are currently on, and then any new maps can be generated in Roll20. The real issue is going to be porting Hero Lab stuff over. That's a virtual software cruncher, for those who don't know. I'm using the client version of Hero Lab for older versions of games. For those who use like D&D 5e or Pathfinder 2e or Starfinder, you have the Hero Lab Online for that sort of thing. Shadowrun 6th edition, Call of Cthulhu, all that stuff will be on the online version, like the cloud version. But because we're playing like older games, we kind of need an actual real client to handle what we're gonna do. You and I honestly need to schedule time to work on it together for an extended period of time. Feel if we work on it together, we could get it worked out a bit easier. Yeah, this term has been really rough. I'll definitely say that. I've also just been experiencing a little bit of brownout myself, just frazzled at all ends, and honestly, it could be just something as simple as I have a lot on my plate, or it could be as much as I haven't really gone anywhere in my life for multiple years at a time, so I feel like I haven't progressed any, and that makes me very bummed, sad, not depressed, but very wistful. I don't know which one of those it is. Both reasons are equally compelling. I've been going to tutoring. I recently became a new-ish member of the oh, I'm forgetting what the name already. DAV. It's the not Department of American Veterans. It's something like Disabled American Veterans. That's what I was looking for. Sorry, took me a second. Yeah, and I also have a school club to join. I've been told by the tutoring center, by the Center for Academic Success, that I should join a club. That it would be good for my mental health if I did so, so I have to fill up my time a lot more. It's a lot. I'm not happy about, well, I'm not exactly unhappy about it, but it's interesting that one of the remedies that I had spat at me was join a club. And I know why, and it's something that both YouTube and Twitch already kind of know about, but it has to do with the personal self-guilt I've been carrying for 4 months. The feeling of stagnating is hard. It's more difficult to visualize your own progress when you're living the day-to-day, kind of like not noticing your own hair growth or skin tanning. Exactly. Exactly. Depression's the wrong word for it. It feels very blech. Very, maybe invalidating? I don't know. Invalidation also implies a negative feeling. I'm not sure how to describe it. Except it's just a general lack of anything. It's really weird. But that's part of why I'm at the Academic Success Center. Melancholy, maybe, is like the mildest form I could think of just feeling black without it being overbearing. Yeah, melancholy is a pretty good word for it, now that I'm thinking on it. Thanks. It's not something I can't deal with. It could just be a lot to take in. Again, this is why I'm at the Center of Academic Success. Hopefully they will help me right this ship that I am steering into the Niagara Falls, it feels like. And I'm not looking into the camera when I talk, which is hard when I'm also trying to play a game, but also I haven't even leveled up. Great. Excellent. Game progress is going so smooth. Hopefully I'll be able to help steer the ship of my life in a correct direction. Depression isn't all-consuming sadness. Sometimes it's just feeling overwhelmed or frustrated with yourself. Sometimes it's a feeling of not moving forward. Okay, good to know. I guess I'll happen to like distinct definitions for my words, but it makes depression seem less distinct, but you're right. It's a range. It is definitely a range. So, I really didn't want this to turn into coin talks or swirling vortex talks about all his problems, the stream, but It's also good not to hold these things either. And it sort of explains why I've been late recently. Kind of just been off my game. And that's why. I just have a lot going on, guys. I have been talking to people about it when it feels particularly soul-crushing, but my schedule is busy. And I'm also a STEM major, so, well, that makes it sound like the humanities are not an equally time-consuming task, but there's a lot more of this phenomena happening among STEM majors from what I've read, where it's just the amount of information is or can be overwhelming. There's just a lot you're expected to know, and you really just have to find out ways to teach yourself that information. So it's a lot. And, you know, all those fields have courses that are designed to weed out people that don't have any potential whatsoever. It's a lot. I think you'll get yourself right. Just a gentle reminder that you are progressing, doing new courses when you can, you're writing your campaign stories when you're able, you're doing more for yourself than you give yourself credit for your future, and you give yourself credit for. Thank you. I needed that. I try to tell myself that every single day, but it is hard. It's hard to tell yourself that when sometimes you could be too far in your own head, and of course I try to remind myself not to be too far in my own head, and sometimes that means I discount the praise I should be giving myself, the reassurance I should be giving myself. So thank you. Appreciate that. So we've come across 2 journal entries that I have neglected to read, and we should take a moment to read those before continuing onward. It's okay to seek reminders and validation for your support network. Love you. Love you too, Rowan. Appreciate it. So this is part 2 of the Mayor's Journal. I no longer know what game Aldrich is playing, but it has come at a cost to our citizens that I cannot allow to continue, whether out of malice or plain incompetence. I've not been receiving updates regarding recent events in Port Valbury, the tragically mishandled trash issues in Old Town in particular. I'm now hearing rumors of outright revolt and dissent among the citizens. Whatever the council had done in my absence was clearly not done in the best interest of the citizenry. Tomorrow I intend to return to the public eye and remove Van Aldrich from the position of High Advisor. Risk against my life be damned. But there is some good news in all this. Kevel, the Nightblade, once under my employ, has asked to meet. He promises me information regarding a plot against my life. Kalos Stroon, Mayor of Portbury. 2 out of 2. Maybe that Nightblade could have been the assassin. We don't know. Maybe Aldrich was already 3 steps ahead of you and figured out when you would become aware. The throes of extra planner beings. For now, I'm going to ease up on the chatting. I'll let you get back to reading and gaming. Gonna lurk a bit? Very well. Enjoy your lurk. Have yourself a good one. I'll do my best to keep it entertaining. So, taking a sip of drink. We have now realized the portion of the story where the mayor finally figures out that he's been led on by Aldrich and all the other people. What he probably failed to realize is that there were ethereals afoot that had infiltrated the town. That's the only thing that explains the green aether fire, by the way. What else? Ethereal infiltration. And unfortunately, when the ethereals infiltrate human society and possess humans and collect the corpses of humans, you realize you need, like, countermeasures that really can only come about once the world has been destroyed. You can only be aware of the threat once it has sufficiently overtaken you. At least in the case of extra planner spirits that can possess other humans and, you know, get them to do things that are obviously not in human interest. Sending trash to overflow can be considered an act of can be considered an act of malice, but at least maybe somewhat understandable depending on the circumstance. Having people kidnapped and sent to Malmouth, where God only knows what happens to them, is absolutely barbaric, but not outside of the realm of absolutely nasty human organizations. Once you start getting to the level of, we're going to plant green crystals in your corpses, and we're going to, start getting people arrested just to ship them off to Malmouth, yeah, that's probably about the point where you should, suspect something. But then again, the Mayor Stroon just did not know. He did not know that Aldrich was leading him in the dark on purpose, because Aldrich was an ethereal and knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't malice or incompetence. No, this was an ethereal construction from the start. Oh god. Pop a potion like yesterday. And just as a reminder for those who are new to the challenge dungeons, once you die, that's it. You're done, and you don't have any choice except to do it all over again. Chthonic Heresy, page 4. Justice, my brothers, justice shall be swift and merciless, for it was tempered with faith, blood, and fear. Justice shall descend upon the heretic, unforgiving and relentless. Those that take up arms against the Chthonian shall become the fiery vengeance of divine retribution. Those that call the Chthonian god shall taste righteous flame. Justice be done. Wow. Weird, but whatever. Sounds more like the ravings of a fallen paladin, doesn't it? But we failed to go left during this entire exchange. Good adventurers go left, folks. Good adventurers go left. And good adventurers also check out the loot crates and open boxes. Don't open the loot crates, kids. Pay an adventurer to do them, so that the adventurer opens the loot crate instead. And then it's perfect. This is all a bit. Please understand it's a bit. I'm trying to make a bit out of it. Trying to make some kind of humorous gag out of it, but I know when you explain the joke and you don't fully commit because you're trying to explain yourself before the bit was fully committed to, you just end up shooting yourself in the foot. I've noticed that with my speech a lot. I'm always looking to cover my own butt. I have absolutely all the time. And that gets just so taxing. Absolutely taxing. Anyone else ever feel that? Where it seems like you really just have to go out of your way to sort of find ways to sanction your own speech? Not that you think you genuinely intend to say something that upsets people, but sometimes the topic itself is just upsetting. Or if you're not careful, something can be misconstrued. I wouldn't liken it to canceling. It's not that severe. It's more like just making sure you don't accidentally put your foot in it. For something in which the apology should be sufficient. Because you acknowledge that it was a mistake, or that, you know, it was a joke in which you maybe did not fully understand what it is you were saying. Doesn't excuse what was said, but, you know. That's a content creator's worst nightmare, is just falling afoul of whatever society deems unacceptable. Whether it's legitimately unacceptable or not is a different story. But at the very least, that fears that you'll step into that landmine, and you know, you step in enough of them, and you don't have you have nothing but a torso and a head, and you're sitting there watching yourself bleed out over all the sociological landmines you just stepped in. That's eventually what happens to all your heroes, folks. They grow up and you realize that the hero had a complicated story, and that not everything that hero did was right. In fact, many heinous actions are accepted only because it's for the greater good. And people could use that to sell a lie and manipulate you into accepting what would otherwise be an unacceptable set of actions or consequences. But that's the innate beauty and terror of human duality. Anything can be justified given the right reasoning and circumstance. Absolutely anything. Whether or not other humans who hear the story accept the justification, that's the part that's up to us. To perceive the manipulation and find out if manipulation is a byproduct or a goal. If it is a byproduct, then try to accept it. Because good chance that person's telling the truth. Especially if you find out the actual circumstances that are surrounding the statement. If you don't, or if you do suspect that, then don't trust it. Not even for a second. Of course, it's hard because the circumstances will dictate what you should and shouldn't accept, and that changes at every waking moment. That's the twisted beauty of human decision-making, is that some things you never get to know the truth, and you just have to decide on all the facts you know, right then and there. Sometimes you just have to rely on your intuition. I would say instincts, but humans don't have those. We have intuition and reflexes, not instincts. Animals have instincts. Animals have behavior that's just pre-wired. For humans, we don't have pre-wired behavior. We don't have a real instinct to draw on. It's, because our beliefs and the things that make up our psychological schema are what form the basis for our actions. But just the physiological reflex of not touching something once it gets too hot, or not touching something that looks dangerous, that is a reflex. That is just a physiological reflex. No amount of psychology is required to explain it, and any psychologist would tell you that those are in fact reflexes, and you should believe them, because they are. Do we have anything else we should be aware of? Nope. We're good to just keep following the road, I guess. But, if for those that are wondering, why the hell are you playing this game? Why aren't you playing D4, like the trial run for D4, or something else? We're 11 episodes in. Where have you been? Where the person that might be asking that, theoretical voice in my head, as Hef would maybe say, where have you been, and why have you not looked at the previous 10 episodes? Please go. Technically 11 episodes, this will be number 12, but I've labeled this as number 11. I know, confusing. Absolutely confusing. How dare I, label an inadequate episode as A, and the more legitimate episode as B. How dare I? But in all seriousness. Also, I just realized there's a vendor over there. And it's the first time I've realized that in a while. Like, I've hovered over the name several times. But it's just now that I'm hearing it. We already have the blueprint this corresponds to. How quaint. And of course, we can't even preview that shop forever. I completely broke my train of thought just to say that. Oh, right. I remember. So, for those that are asking, why am I playing this game? Because I bloody well feel like it. I enjoy what I play. And I try not to play games I don't enjoy. Because the experience suffers, or tends to suffer when I do. Of course, it doesn't sound like I enjoy the game because I'm not going, ah, yeah, look at that sweet loot. Like, I'm not using a lot of power language in my sentences. I'm very analytical about what's happening in the game. But please understand, I'm just kind of wired to speak that way. And additionally, you know, I'm a STEM major, and I know humanities majors can totally be just like this as well. But because you don't get people who are linguistically gifted in STEM, you get people who kind of have to work at it most of the time. All the STEM courses find it really important to make sure you understand how to bloody well write a paper, and writing it in a way that is satisfactory for STEM majors. And that means, you know, no extra... I would have totally missed that. You know, trying not to write in a way that... how do we word this? That removes the self from the paper, not being personal in your paper. Avoiding the use of I or me, and trying not to write things like, we did this experiment. Oh no. Did it crash? It crashed. You can't be serious. Oh. Alright. Well, this is why I brought 5 keys, ladies and gentlemen. I told you it might be all day. Yeah, go ahead and close it. It's fine. Yep, see, it crashed. There's a crash report. Let's look at the log. Figure out why it crashed. Because it ran out of storage? Yeah, it ran out of cloud storage. What the heck? That's rough. I hate when crashes, you know... And I have to go terminate the process? Game, don't do this. Reminds me when you were playing Skyrim and it just crashed the desktop. Yeah, for those who think that vanilla Skyrim doesn't crash and like, oh, you sick mod players, you complain that it crashes and then you realize that the engine is unstable with mods. No, the Gamebryo engine is just freaking unstable, okay? The Gamebryo engine is liable to crashes. If you save too much or too little, it crashes. If you open and close a door too many times, it crashes. If you talk to an NPC, or you don't complete the quest in a way that the devs necessarily intend for you to complete it, sometimes it just bloody crashes, and people have to get used to it. Bro, Skyrim used to crash on my console. I know. That comment wasn't at you. You and I both know that pain. It's everyone else. Well, I'm quite sure some people are also intrinsically familiar with that pain too, but... For those who are aware that Skyrim can crash on console, congratulations, you know our pain. You know that trying to explain to anyone who's, like, only played PC Skyrim, and even then, PC Skyrim is still unstable. It can still crash. It just does it at... A, it does it at a slightly lower frequency, and B, more than anything else, you can troubleshoot the crash on PC. That is the real brain buster. You can troubleshoot that. You can't troubleshoot a console crash. You just have to restart it, and if it's a corrupted save, you could kiss those hours bye-bye. Absolutely roasted hours. Oh god. Well, I guess we might as well take this opportunity to put back any consumables that we've gained over the course of this adventure. Let's swap out the lightning storm or the storm shroud ointment for the venom guard ointment, because the first section of that is going to deal with also we're going to reset these stacks. The first portion of this, oh, I realized what I just did. Okay, it's this. I was devastated when I lost my first ever playthrough to a crash that would happen every time I would enter Solitude, which you would need to do to finish the game. Yeah, you have to load like a ridiculously early save in order to save yourself of that. Also, we're putting these in the first pocket while I am remembering to do so. This storage system is by far the most tedious portion of the game. A similar thing happened to me in Fallout New Vegas. I had a console game, for those who aren't aware. Rowan knows this. Knows it to some extent anyway. We had Fallout New Vegas on console, specifically Xbox 360. And I played the ever-loving crap out of that, because I love Fallout. I truly do. I got to Camp McCarran. I tend to play for hours without saving. Yeah, that was a mistake we both shared, unfortunately. We both should have saved a lot more, knowing how unstable the game was. And Bloodbound ointment. Okay, that is chaos resist, but we don't need that. So there is a glitch that can happen where if you go through a specific side of Camp McCarran during a certain quest line, or even just regularly during nominal play, I've seen it happen in both cases, the file won't just crash, right? Like, if something goes wrong with a script, because that's how all this stuff works in, like, the Fallout and Skyrim engines, is that they run off of scripts, some of which are core to the game, and others which are just, you know, the actual game process. Not just the engine, but the actual software running in the background. And that script became an unborked mess, like an absolutely borked mess, and it corrupted. It thoroughly corrupted the game. I had to load to a save that was over 25 hours before I had ever touched Camp McCarran. And for reference, because not everyone's played Fallout New Vegas, you start in Good Springs, which is on the northwestern end of the map. You head down south. The game makes you take a loop to get to Camp McCarran. You go through, you're going this way, making sure I'm like tracing along the camera. You're heading down south. You wrap around the corner like this. You head through, what's that town? There's a checkpoint at the corner, and then there's a town that Caesar's Legion took over. I'm forgetting the names, by the way. I remember some of them, not all of them. You pass through, you wrap around the corner, and I think to another town where you're chasing a guy. You're chasing the guy who put a bullet in your head. That's been the premise up to this point. And you've been meeting people along the way. You pass through that town, you find the guy, he leaves. You end up calling like some sort of a truce between two factions, and then you hit Vegas. When you get to Vegas, no, West Side. When you get to West Side, you go through, get to Vegas. You find Vegas, and you start heading west again. Because you've made a full loop, right? Like a U-shaped loop. You basically... Nipton. Okay, Nipton and Prim. Prim is before the checkpoint I'm thinking of, and Nipton is the town after the checkpoint. Okay, so it's that old... Not airport, because that's Camp McCarran. Camp McCarran was the airport, but... There's another place that was like a drive-in checkpoint between Nevada and another state. You could never go there, so I could never remember. And it's where all the Brahmin get stuck. and you have to kind of clear up what's causing the holdup. And, well, part of what's causing the holdup. And then you find out the NCR is just like the US military. Redundant, paperwork everywhere. And paperwork has to go through the right channels, and it never gets there. Anyway, once you get to Vegas, you start heading west, and you eventually make your way to Camp McCarran, which is the headquarters of the NCR. They're holed up there. And you do a whole bunch of quests inside that camp. You help someone get over their trauma. You help another person get over their trauma. You kill some raiders. You go to an underground vault. You do a whole bunch of cool stuff in Camp McCarran. And it's where the biggest merchant outfit stays, is in Camp McCarran. So, getting completely blown out, which that content takes about 15 hours to do, knowing how difficult New Vegas is. And the fact that those vaults are filled with all kinds of nasties. It takes 15 hours for me to do that. I lost that and then some. I basically had to replay through West Side and New Vegas after that. Never mind the little bit of a trip I took to Boomer's Ridge. Yeah, 25 hours. You thought you would have quit? Absolutely not. I chugged through it. I reloaded an uncorrupted portion of a save, played through all of that again, played an additional 25 hours to get through the rest of the game before DLCs, and then ultimately complete the NCR portion of the quest line of the main quest, where you go, you annihilate Caesar's Legion, and anyone else who gets in your way, and that's it. That's the game. In 50 hours, it took me 50 total hours to beat that game in that pathway. And it probably takes about the same amount of time, maybe a little bit less, if you're just kind of like speedrunning it. I did everything. I did as many things as I could possibly do, and it took me about 50 hours. I felt proud of that. I should have gone back and completed all the endings, but luckily for us, this is where I get to show off one of the cool things I'm working on. I've downloaded a mod. I'm not gonna like play the game again. I'm not gonna load that up, but I have something on that I've downloaded from Wabbajack. One mod pack called Capital Punishment. Those of you in my Discord, you already know about this project. This project is not a set in stone project, but it is something I've been testing out to make sure it works. I know when there are crashes. I know what makes it unstable. Blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada. A whole bunch of stuff. A whole bunch of upkeep you may not be interested in. But patrons and those who sub through Twitch and those who donate through Coffee get a chance to come into the Discord and vote on it. For now, I think the votes lead toward different game. It is super cool. Yeah, Capital Punishment is a mod pack that takes both Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. It basically recreates 3 in New Vegas's engine. You just need a copy of all 3's files, including DLC, to play it, to use as reference. So you get the whole story of both games in one. You just have to be careful to complete Fallout 3 a certain way so that you have access to New Vegas, or you could complete New Vegas first with less strings attached. But you gotta find it. It's not gonna be there for you. And the Capital Punishment's a little bit more of a survival mod where fast traveling is disabled except in certain contexts. You have to sleep, you have to stay clean. There's a little bit more to it, but it's super cool. Just don't go around fighting raiders at level 1 and you'll be okay. You'll be just fine. Favorite DLCs for Fallout 3 and New Vegas? Oh, for New Vegas, probably Old World Blues. Easily my favorite one. I like Lonesome Road as well. Those kind of feel more attached to the Lone Wanderer, the canonical name for the Fallout New Vegas character. those feel like they have a more direct impact because some of the stuff you deal with in Old World Blues comes back. You need that to help explain why you meet the characters you meet. They're all standalone, don't get me wrong, but Old World Blues and Lonesome Road are the most connected out of the two DLCs that are there, whereas like Dead Money and oh god, what's the other one? Gonna look it up because Steven doesn't know. Fallout New Vegas DLC. Honest Hearts. That was the one I was missing. Was Honest Hearts. Old World Blues seems to be everyone's favorite. Mine, of course, is Dead Money, but you know that it has its own story in terms of why you're biased. Fair. And Dead Money is enjoyable. In my experience, just from my perspective, I guess, Dead Money and Honest Hearts feel more like adventure DLCs, where it's like, yeah, there's a story there, but it's its own disconnected story. You're really taken out of it. In Old World Blues, I would still say it's kind of an adventure. At least it starts that way, but you very quickly have to become personally involved in it. So it becomes about you, not just what you're experiencing. The circumstances of why you're there. That's something every DLC has, but Old World Blues makes it personal, and Lonesome Road builds on that, in my opinion. For Fallout 3, that's a tougher one. It's been a longer period of time since I've played. I'm torn between the Pit and, is it Mothership Zeta? Is that the one I'm thinking of? You got the weird segment where you're abducted in an alien spaceship, and you quite literally have to keep the ship from blowing new nuclear holes in planet Earth. Something like that. Yes, that is the one. Thank you. I'm glad I remembered. I know my Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4. I'd better be able to remember that. The DLC or story, the two I was talking about before, Dead Money and Honest Hearts, that have more to do with understanding things that funneled into New Vegas before you were involved, whereas Old Blues and Honest Hearts are player-centered. Interesting. Yeah, I could see what you mean. I could definitely see what you mean. Lonesome Road kind of feels like it fits both, where there were definitely some things that went on before that you're made aware of with the character that pursues you. That's about as much as I will say, because it is a good DLC, and people should play, whether it's in Tales of Two Wastelands format, or it's in regular Fallout New Vegas format with tons of mods. The DLC is probably the best one. It's gotten the most awards. Pit or Point Lookout? Yeah, Point Lookout's like right in the middle. It's not a bad DLC, but you definitely do have to go through some loops to figure out what you're supposed to do at some point. The initial beginning of the game is fine, but toward the end where you're flopping back and forth between places, that could get a little bit confusing. Picked up a green. We don't want that. I think for me, I'm mostly torn between the Pit and Mothership Zeta because I do not remember everything between the two. Oh god, okay. Getting out of here like it was yesterday's brunch. I will respond to stuff in a single second.
Can't do that yet.
Keep moving. And death. I'm not surprised. I forgot to turn on my buffs. I'm gonna blame it on my lack of preparation and not totally because I ran in the direction of enemies. I think I just like the DLC that has a bit of a supernatural creepy vibe. Completely fair. And in the Pit, I think you get that. You definitely get that more with Mothership Zeta. Mothership Zeta. Jesus. Chat distraction. Nah, don't apologize. It's my fault. I'm the one that's getting distracted. For those who are maybe content creators yourselves, remember not to look at chat during strenuous moments. And it's not that you want to be rude to your chat members, but you would like to, you know, be talking about some triumph you did, and not, oh, hey, look, I died for like the 15th time. Although we've already had a crash, so things can't possibly get any worse, right? You know, I kind of consider the crash the low point of today's stream. Well, if you want supernatural or out of this world, Mothership Zeta, it definitely does have that fix for you. And this is why you go quiet for Elden Ring bosses. Exactly. Exactly. And Blasphemous, too, by the way. Although with Blasphemous, I've gotten good at talking during some of them. Because, like, Tenpai Dad or, trying to think of another one where I kind of talk. Our Lady of the Charred Visage, where they're kind of like slower fights. I think Mothership was difficult because you struggled with knowing where you were supposed to go within the ship. Yeah, I definitely had that struggle as well. Even though places were either clearly labeled or there was only one way to get to it. Excuse me, hiccup. Sometimes you have to approach an area through a back channel. Oh god, I lost like 1,300 health, and I really have to try not to do that. Sometimes you have to go through the back. Sometimes you have to talk to a person that's moved and they don't tell you where. And Mothership Zeta in particular, if you were on console, which is where I first bumped into it, there were several quest bugs. Even through multiple patches, there were several bugs where a quest just would not proceed in a given direction, or outside of not proceeding in a particular direction, some things were just unlabeled. Although unlabeled quests are also definitely a problem in just, you know, regular Bethesda gameplay. Sometimes scripts don't update correctly. Sometimes, you know, scripts can overwrite values for text. Like overwrite a bit value or something for text, and it just completely causes it to be unable to track. Sometimes the quest marker, it's a feature. I can be relatively assured of the fact that even Bethesda management would consider failure to track quest state a bug, but you're probably right. That would be the kind of cynicism that would be reported as a feature, wouldn't it? I wandered right into a meteor. Whose fault is that? Mine. Yeah, I'm sure with an old game engine like Gamebryo, it does literally take forever to code some things correctly. Even in Skyrim Anniversary Edition, you can still tell where the quests do not update properly. Although, admittedly, they are few and far between, because Bethesda's had 3 iterations to get it correct. Even with new content. But still, I do hear the occasional bug report that goes through, because Skyrim is Skyrim is a game that I do look at offering you guys, either on YouTube, Twitch, Discord, or all 3. Oh god, don't kill me, please. You are my ethereal master, and I will do nothing you say because you are dead. Okay. When you are begging for literal mercy. Okay, so just I think Dad has it turned on quite high. Sorry to do this. Gotta go. Mom's home. Gotta help with groceries. Love ya. Thanks for stopping by, and thanks for keeping me company. Greatly appreciate it. Keeps me from going absolutely nutty. May the groceries be a fruitful experience, and may you not strain yourself in order to help out toting them. Take care of yourself and love you. Alright guys, I was supposed to take a break 15 minutes ago for real life reasons, so I'm going to do that now. This one I should be able to leave the game on. I'm just going to up the game audio a little bit so you guys have something nice to listen to. And with that, I will be right back. This one's going to be a little bit of a longer break. And because I'm hot, I may have to strip down and turn off the camera. And strip down in the non-sexual sense, guys. Get your mind out of the gutter. It's a hot house. And with that, I will be right back. I am back. I am sorry about that. How is everyone doing? I, of course, am going to turn the camera off. I think you might have seen me for like half a second, and I'm gone. And like I said, get your minds out of the gutter. Not even attractive in the first place. No, I just stripped down to shorts and a t-shirt because it was 70 freaking 4 in the house. And I was, you know, really developing quite the cold sweat. So I fixed that. Let's get back to Port Valbury. We've got quite a lot to do. And surprisingly little time to do it. What I may end up having to do is complete a portion of Valbury and then return so we can finish it. Like I said, today I will spend all episode, if necessary, trying to complete it. But I don't want to spend more than that. We are level 66. We could technically get better gear. If we die again, I will absolutely do that because we will actually have gear to make ourselves better with, gear worth getting, but I don't want to waste too much time trying to do this. Luckily, we only die at... We only have to worry about death in the actual challenge dungeon. That was close. Granted, we had a portal right to where we were going to die, but that is still neither here nor there. Also, we have not leveled up. Let's take a second and do that. We need the physique. Like, we need everything. Let's see if we can keep going to... going through this tree and try to get to where we get some real armor. Because our elemental defense is good, and we're going to have to accept that we are just very weak to poison and acid. But we don't have to accept being weak to physical attacks. We can be at least meh about them. Oh look, there's an Overlord Van Aldrich. One of the things we were definitely supposed to fight. And as expected, he is one tough son of a slith. Also, the reason I came back so quick, like relatively speaking, I did definitely take longer than the short break today, but apparently my folks already decided what dinner was going to be, instead of letting me get involved with dinner, so they definitely just decided to take the easy way out and go out, like, bring something back. This may just be me. I'm definitely being a little bit of an ingracious ass. Excuse my French. And the YouTube algorithm says it's fine, by the way. But am I the only person who gets upset when we don't follow a dinner plan? We go through the meticulous effort of buying dinner supplies for a week or a month. Usually it's 2 weeks. We go out, we go and do the shopping. We know what day we're having dinner, or what day we're having what for dinner, and what day we're having what for breakfast. You know, we know when we're having something. And lunch is typically, oh, did we make something for breakfast big enough to use as lunch? So we do one of those two things. Easy. Everything will be... For whatever reason, neither of those things are available. Great. Seems like a good system. It's when we have something on the menu and we decide to spend money anyway that I get upset because we didn't do what we planned to do and we aren't being money conscious. Trying to be real careful. I know I'm probably not the only person who does get upset by that stuff. It just really bothers me when we don't stick to plans we make. I'm a person who really prides themselves on prior planning. I will sculpt plans for months at a time and do my best to meticulously follow them, and only really deviating in a plan if something asks me to. If a circumstance forces me to change the plan, then I do. I adapt to the circumstance. But willfully just going against the plan, that chafes. I should be grateful, again, as I'm at least being fed, and I am grateful. But I can't be the only person who gets upset when we don't follow through with what we plan to do. Really? We have a nemesis. A nemesis has decided to make itself known during the playthrough. That makes two such nemesis we've had the distinct pleasure or displeasure of worrying about. Could be worse, I guess. We've dealt with one before. We can do it again. And we could definitely just use the terrain to our advantage in order to make some attacks, in order to negotiate through some of the more difficult attack patterns. I totally do that all the time to not have to deal with with one of these moving enemies. The big giant aether crystal things that move. That they stay rooted in the earth and then they get up and move. When you've killed them once, yeah, those. They like to raise up a lot of dead and generally make my life difficult. I sure hope we don't bump into this nemesis. Like, we can go around. Oh, but I do want to at least see what they're capable of. Call it an old warrior's intuition for, not for wanting to, like, test his mettle against a foe. Being forged in the heat of battle, so to speak. I am a man who loves being tempered by the heat of battle and high-stress situations. Not sure I like being tempered by arcane wit, though. I think I could do without that. Just try to, like, stay out of the way. Oh, you are not the boss. This guy was the boss. I should have realized that Miss Stormfire was not the boss because she didn't have a red dot, at the center of her skull. Nice Nemesis Trove. Oh wow, we found a real beauty. Holy visage, unholy visage of the Covenant. Great reward. Excellent reward. Love to have it. Gotta have it. In the gotta have it size. I could so go for some ice cream right now, but that's okay. We learned to do without. Though if you have the money in this economy, definitely feel free to treat yourself. It's okay to treat yourself. It's okay to have things you want. It's okay to, and I suppose that's what makes me getting upset about not having food, like, out or made to order is that here I am talking about treating oneself, and I just had a previous conversation about, you know, making sure you stay to budget. And budgeting and planning are super important. And then I come and see something like that. What? How dare I? A Wake of Carnage. I like that we're getting achievements. Typically those are disabled in modded playthroughs, which is totally fine, by the way. Though it sucks for content creators who generally want to be able to complete achievements and showcase mods at the same time. I can tell I'm hitting a sentinel off in the distance. Yeah, that's a nice try, buddy, but you're not breaking through this today. I've had enough of being set back. Our time is now, and the time to rise is now. The time for setbacks is over. The time for victory is to begin right now. Just remind yourself of that, people. If you've had setbacks, just give yourself a good ego massage. Let yourself feel righteous anger. And use that anger towards something productive. If you're going to be angry about anything, try to let it be productive, if at all possible. And of course, vent it, because it is unhealthy to hold on to anger. Something I am all too familiar with. Anger is something I struggle with at an inherent level. It is the emotion I feel the most. Something I hold close at hand. If it's important, hold on to it, but do your best not to become subsumed by it. As many of the games that we play later on in the latter 10 or 20 years, basically since the 2000s, like mid to late 2000s, like Xenoblade Chronicles, sometimes your anger blinds you. And you could become so sure that you step foot in a load of crap instead. Don't do this. Which I know is hard to do, if not outright impossible. Humans are emotional creatures. You can be overcome with hormonal manipulation. Nonetheless, we must try our best to steel ourselves against such manipulation. By resolving ourselves to be logically driven creatures where we can be, where our heart and our mind is clear. As someone who has dealt with guilt and anger in the same exact time frame, the exact same span of time, that little lovely emotional cocktail is very, very hard to climb out of. So, if I can, let me serve as your reminder today. You know, treat your emotions with seriousness, treat them with care, nurture them, respect them, but don't let them subsume you. Don't let them make you a worse person. Because you're choosing to engage them. Try to use them to become a better person instead. I know, hard to do, but that's something we have to try our best to do. That ought to do it. That ought to do it. Okay, why aren't you going to that treasure chest? It's because the door was closed. I want to really take the opportunity to thank you guys for sticking around. Anyone who's decided to watch at this point, I really do appreciate it. I really can't understand if people leave because of the crash, who think I don't have everything set up. That is your right. You have every right, if you're dissatisfied with content, to leave and watch someone who does have content worth watching. There are lots of people who have content out there that I think are worth watching. The Commander's Quarters is one of them. Covert Go Blue is another. Chugga Conroy is a third. I can name so many people who are very worth your time if you give them the chance. Whether you want to see the salty scoops, or you want to know things you've never learned about a game you've played, especially if it's Nintendo, there will be others besides Chugga Conroy for other series. Go check out those people. I wish I could say it was any one of those three people I just mentioned, and maybe someday I'll develop into that. But for right now, what you get is this. Something that is in maybe, hopefully, an in-between, with at least decent audio quality, if nothing else. Make haste. They will not remain open for long. I'm doing my best. I know it is not enough, and I have to try harder. That's all there is to do. Can't even put a rift in here. Gosh darn it, this game isn't gonna let me be cheeky. Oh well. I would really hope the mod wouldn't let me be cheeky if I could place a, something in vanilla. Yay, we have resistant to Aether, but more susceptible to chaos. Unfortunate. Now that we've been through some of these other areas before, let's try to hold our elixirs for when we actually need them, rather than being like, oh god, everything needs these elixirs. No, there are definitely many things that don't. We should take advantage of that in here. One elixir I am going to pop right now is the poison and acid resist, because there are lots of things that have it, that have acid and poison in here. And it could be incredibly useful to mitigate that for a short or medium span of time. Basically like 7.5 minutes. 300 seconds is 5 minutes, and 360 seconds is 6 minutes. So 450 seconds is 7 minutes and 20 seconds. Yep, I figured out the math. 5 minutes or 7 minutes and 20 seconds for 450 second flask is not a bad going rate at all. And for a significant amount of resist stats, I might add. Yeah, don't neglect your ointments and your elixirs. Those can be quite helpful. They can save you. If you're going to be doing challenge dungeons like this, come in prepared. Come in prepared to rock with all the nasty critters that are in here. Definitely come prepared. Hi, Overlord Van Aldrich. And another Overlord Van Aldrich. Thank you for your contributions, Overlord Van Aldrich. May you never return to haunt my sight again. But knowing this game, you'll return to haunt my sight many, many, many times over. And we will just have to accept it. Don't let the blade spirits get ya. How many blade spirits are you going to summon, guys? How many? 1, 3? I think there were 2 that were honest the whole time. Whenever you see like a cloud of floating blades swirling around you, that is usually the Nightblade power of the same name, or like a similar power of the same name, and those things hurt. Periodic, physical damage over time is never ever fun. Did everything just die, or did it disappear? I can't tell what just happened. Nice. Very nice. I love seeing a storm of loot. Now, if only the storms of loot and other things didn't crash the game. If this doesn't work, I will try to do it at a lower mob intensity. And see if that helps. Luckily, we know where to go. We know the path to get straight there. It's right this way. And then what happens after that? Only God knows. Yep, right through here. Probably swarm this way. There's a little bit of a snaking pattern, but we should otherwise be ready for it. And of course, having your camera pointed down south is always a smart, like an absolutely smart option. Mainly because having your camera pointed in any other direction can result in death. Nice equilibrium sash. Do we already know the pattern? No, we do not. Good. We just have to be especially careful because we are, in fact, our flasks ran out at about, a third of the way in, a quarter of the way in. So if we don't, we're really very depowered right now. So we have to be safe. We have to play safe. Which is hard to do when things teleport in your general direction. That's one thing that Grim Dawn really has taught me, among the many things it has to teach, is that, teleporting is common.
I can't do that yet.
Yeah, teleporting is very common, and we'll pop that potion right now. Acid definitely can't stay. Is that teleporting solves everyone's gap-closing problems. Stuff teleports to you all the frickin' time. And you gotta be really, really ready to deal with it. Because if you're not, you too can enjoy a nice, knuckle sandwich with a side of beat-down dressing and misery to drink. What are our buffs while we're here? Aether damage plus, this is the modifier for the monsters. 104 Aether damage plus 20% on top of that, plus 8% Aether resistance, minus 6% Chaos resistance, and regenerating, which means they regenerate health every freaking second, with 15% on top of that, 30% energy regeneration. But they are susceptible to poison, acid, and bleeding. Great. If we were a occultist, we would be great, but we're not. So instead, we have to put up and suffer. Okay. Just gotta be really careful. I hear a bunch of dogs barking, so I'm gonna be right back real quick. Just gonna make sure we're not disturbed. But because there are aether vortexes on the screen, I don't want to die. Be right back. Let's try this again now that my mic's not muted. So sorry about that. I had to help bring in food. I had to talk with folks since they were home. I had to like help address logistics and stuff. So I am completely sorry. Hopefully we'll be able to make up, you know, for lost time. I'm gonna try to push through it. No breaks, none of that stuff. Just pure, good old solid gaming for an hour. And 8 minutes. Anyone else ever, you know, decide to just bite the bullet and push through and try to make it to the end? If anyone's ever played a Legend of Zelda game, they know what that feeling is like. Like, just a little more, and you're right at the end. And you can just relax, do what you intended on doing, and watch the credits or skip them, whatever fits your fancy. That is what this little old stage of the game is. Let's try to use the terrain to our advantage. And we are definitely going to be struggling more because we don't have any of the bonuses working in our favor this time. It could be worse. And really, the key ingredient in games like this is patience. Always have some patience. Try to develop some if you don't have any, which can be hard to do. But if you really want to develop patience, play a game you think you'll like, but is known for being difficult. And try to persist no matter how bad you think the game is. That is a good way to develop patience. At least for gaming. For other stuff, I can't really say. I don't know, maybe try seeing how much you could tolerate, you know, cold water brushing over you. Like, go stand in front of underneath a cold waterfall, or as long as you can, in short enough bursts that you won't, you know, die to hypothermia. Try to do something like that. You know, train like spiritual or intense spiritual or other amounts of training. Ascetic training, would that kind of be what it is? Something along those lines. Maw of Despair. Good. An epic item. A legendary item, gosh darn it. Corrupted Coffer, which I'm sure will contain something good, or, you know, it could be a complete garbage bin. Sure, Grim Dawn. Just like with Diablo or other games, it doesn't take long for you to be thrown garbage. It's up to you to sift through the refuse and find something useful. But I did want to make sure, just again, because I know I traipse from topic to topic, and I could be a little bit scatterbrained when it comes to finishing said topics. Thank you guys for being here. If you guys want to continue, you know, watching this, or feel like I've earned your support, definitely feel free to leave that, to subscribe. Feel free to subscribe. That it lets me know that you like the content and that you'll continue coming back. Please make sure you shock that notification bell, jolt it just a little bit, so that you too don't miss any of the sweet action, the deep discussions, or, you know, just discussing gameplay or general other topics. If you like the content more than that, and you feel like being a direct supporter, which is never required, subscribing, liking, commenting, I do read those. And I even respond to them. for free. I do all of that for free. But liking the content helps more than an actual sub does. Like the content. Tell your friends. And if I'm valuable to you, then throw the sub in on top. The subscription helps you avoid missing content. It doesn't help that much with the algorithm. Yes, YouTube looks at it, but I do eventually want to be a YouTube partner. That is something I would like. I would like another in-house way to offer all the subscription benefits that my Twitch subscribers get, that my patrons get, that my coffee donors get. I would like to be able to do that. And every little subscription, every little like, every little comment, no matter how big or small, helps. And it helps with engagement a lot. You know, just don't be a jerk. And you'll be fine. Honestly, it's like such a hard ask these days. It seems like, I mean, people have less things to be happy about, so I get it. But it does take almost zero effort to just not be a racist or any of those other things. Just don't do that stuff. And I think you and I, you the crowd, and me, the entertainer, will get along just fine. There's very little that phases me socially. Very, very little. There has to be something else paired with it, usually. Someone doing something disgusting and having video proof. That's usually enough to get me jostled. Or, you know, if it starts getting graphic, then I might be a little bit concerned, but just descriptions of stories, I can handle that no problem. And I've been host to almost anything. Some people told me about their private sex lives, and I was not particularly happy about it, but I listened. And they asked, I was about to say, they asked permission first. And, you know, when you're wanting to be a gentle soul and listen to what people have to say, you really are hard-pressed to say no. So, I definitely found out things about other people's sex lives that have made me uncomfortable. But I signed on. Because other people asked first. These days, I try to keep a little more distance than that. I try to tell people, hey, you know, if you're having problems with that stuff, go talk to a therapist. Go talk to a worker. An escort, even. Someone who is more qualified than me. But if you really feel as though a complete stranger is the best place to turn for that topic, who am I to stop you? I just realized I've been on the intermission screen for entirely too long. I am so sorry about that. If you wonder why I'm going dark, it's because I keep pressing tilde, which brings up the console screen, which doesn't have a chat prompt in it, but it brings it up anyway. So we do have to go all the way around, which really does stink, but it's par for the course when you get to these challenge dungeons, where there is this open space, but you only have one way to go. I've been privy to someone's divorce proceedings. I've been privy to, you know, people describing a gruesome injury. I've listened to a lot over my 30-year... I would say, out of those 30 years, I've borne witness to a lot over the past 12 years. No, a little further than that. Like the last 14 years of my life, I have bore witness to a lot, and I've heard a lot. I've been shown almost as much in picture. So really, there's very little besides just outright gore and extremely graphic content that disrupts me. So I can talk just about anything. and in surprising detail. That is one of the perks of also being a biology student. You tend to get shown graphic stuff all the time. Especially in your first couple of years when you're having to take A and B. You are having to recall everything from memory. And everything begins to look like a western sky blot after a while. Yeah, everything begins to look like an ink blot after a while under the microscope, where you're looking for any little vague dark blotch or granule that's supposed to be representative of the body or the enzyme subunit or concentration you're looking for. You really do, and you really do get shown graphic stuff a lot. Usually it's not that graphic, but like looking at tissue is not an incredibly gut-wrenching experience. But if you start like you know, looking at organs, that's when that stuff gets visceral, gets real. At least for me. Some people don't like looking at certain kinds of tissue types because it looks like an irregular spacing of holes. There's a specific fear for this where, like, it kind of looks flesh-like and suggestive of a disease. I forget the exact term for it. And you know what? Oh no, please don't do this. Don't crash, game. I'm begging you. I should have just kept running. He just did one charge attack and phew, done. Dunzo. Gone. Well, chat, you and I are going to learn a little something together. You know what that something is? We're going to learn about the irrational fear of holes. And we're going to... This is graphic. It's a warning now to avert your eyes. If this triggers you, it's trypophobia. Now, I'm not going to show you triggers of trypophobia, but some people get triggered just by talking about the phobia itself, like trypophobia. My sibling has trypophobia. It is gruesome stuff. Now we can go through Port Valbury. I think what we're going to do now is take a little bit of time and just kind of dissect gear and go over, well, not every new blueprint, but we're definitely going to break down this material. And we didn't lose any elixirs because we were holding on to them. So we're going to put back all of our purple crafting reagents. Our ointments, our tonic, our spare tonics, anything really that can be put back will be put back. Isn't that just peachy? Only we're going to do this. Whoops. Completely wrong. Whoops. So many oopsies. There we go. That looks about correct. No other pouches have any stuff. Okay, let's buy some dynamite. I'm gonna try to get some better gear for next time. We are level 67, so we can totally do this now. I did say I would dedicate a whole episode to this, and I do mean it, but we are running out of time. We do have to go through that place all over again. I most likely need even more dynamite than what I'm thinking. Let's buy up to 100 and see what's left. And yes, I do have a little less than 2 million iron bits. If you do any amount of grinding for legacy, for challenge dungeons, you will get there. You will get this.
Let's take a look, shall we?
We will probably tamp down the enemy density, but before we go back in there again. But only after we get gear first. And at this point, I'm so invested in purples that I have no interest in getting any gear that isn't purple at this point. Make of that what you will. And it's not that blues are uninteresting or anything, but if you're in Dawn of Masteries, by this point, you probably should be wearing purples. If you're not, your build is either really struggling, or you have not bothered to take the time to make any purples. Instead, you are probably wearing whatever you can find. Oodles of respect to you for that, but you are making the game harder on yourself than it has to be by not making legendary gear to wear. I believe we have enough for an offhand. And I believe the offhand for the NCFF blacksmith that we're trying to get is like 75 or 94. It's one of those. So we're mostly going to be looking at other offhands. I'll probably still pull up the vendor just so I have some kind of inkling as to when that is. But this is the part of the stream where we could sort of chill. Ask me anything. You know, just don't break terms of service, okay? That's all I ask. You know, just don't, you know, say, hey, want to find some hot, sexy singles? Even though I just said that, please don't solicit for sites like that. If you want to solicit to me in your off time, go right ahead. I don't really care about that stuff. And, you know, don't get any ideas. Words are fine. Don't solicit pictures. Again, off camera. I'm fine with it off camera. Not on camera. I have to ban people for that. I think I've had to ban exactly 4 people. 1 on Twitch, 3 on YouTube. For just such a thing. And I've had to ban about, I'd say about twice as many on Twitch for literally trying to sell me a view botting service. Don't do that. I take my terms of service very seriously. Just don't do it. And you'll be fine. It's not hard to, you know, obey the Twitch terms of service. And it's not hard to just generally stay out of trouble even without reading the terms of service. If you have to question whether it's okay to do something, it probably isn't. And you should just not do it. But, you know, inevitably you're going to meet people on that side of work whose lives are totally invested in doing just that. Think of the adult entertainment industry. There are tons of people who work that service, men and women of all orientations, and they do real work. Those are people who deserve to get paid for the work they do, as long as they sign on to it, and the industry isn't in any way being predatory about it. As soon as they begin to prey upon people, it is no longer a just business model, and it must be, you know, reallocated to a people or group of people who are willing to take it serious and not prey upon people for any number of reasons. It's just that it's not okay. Treat your sex workers with respect. They do real work. And believe them. When they say they are being preyed upon, believe them. They're working a system you don't. Or that maybe many other people do not. The trick is recognizing, you know, sex work is real work, but how many people should do it? Like, should there be a cap on it? I think that could be a more reasonable discussion to be had. Just like, should there be a cap on the number of police officers or other sorts of help enforcement, like first responder type services? Should there be a cap on that stuff? Or shouldn't there? I'm not going to get into that. I just want to bring up that those are the kinds of questions that would be more okay. And not just, is it real work? Yes, people are paying for it. It's how much the human population should be allowed. How much of the population of any one country should be allowed to work that job. Should people be rotated out because of the mind-warping effect that sex work can have on people if it isn't managed right? And if those film companies are being exploitative in what they're trying to do. Those are the kinds of niche, analyzing discussions we can totally have. That is okay. And it's best to have that discussion with a real sex worker in the room, or someone else who can verify, man and woman. Ideally, if I were to have a real discussion like that, I would have one of each. You know, make sure all perspectives are valid. And of course, I'm forgetting trans people. I should totally make sure that there are... If I were to have a real discussion like that, I would want a trans person involved too. As many perspectives as I could possibly get about whether or not sex work really is objectifying. Is it something we actually should adopt and embrace in society? Or is it something that we're going to have to carefully control with shadow controls, things that people don't get to experience? And really the whole, you know, there are moms and dads up in arms about it is kind of a false flag, right? Or it can be made into a false flag, where there are people with legitimate concerns on both sides, but at the same time, there are definitely bad actors on both sides who want to see the discussions devolve into name-calling and tribalism, and totally use that to orchestrate further division and instability in human populations just in general. Sorry, I realize a lot of that was circular, but I'm just trying to describe that there are many, many, many avenues for that conversation to go woefully wrong, very fast. And once it goes south, you really just have to disengage and not continue to enable it. Only engage in that kind of conversation when it's safe. Alright, so we have... The gear we're really trying to replace are rings and... offhands. Okay, this is 94, and the foci is 94. Hands are 50. Legs are 50. There's a helmet. What did I read earlier that was like, hey, you can totally do this now? At level 65. No? What the heck? Okay. And I also opened the legendary vendor instead of the epic vendor instead of the legendary vendor. Which is just fantastic. Get closer to the great character. Come on. Alright. Now we want to filter... I want to actually try to keep our gear somewhat similar, so let's filter for elemental damage for these. If I could spell. Mostly what we're looking for is a sash, which doesn't start till 75, so we'll have to try different blacksmith. or different vendor, and an offhand, which we have. This offhand is lightning damage, so that's perfectly okay. Vitality and decay. Oh, really? Level 68? Come on. Tome of Arcane Waste. This is a good one. Reaper of the Accursed. That's... Oh, why am I even wasting time? Also, you want to know... trying to think of one that was dragged out. That was too long for me to read. I think I recall an offhand being like this. Offhand. Foci. I'm looking for foci. Foci? I'm looking for a focus in the foci listing. Okay. Where did I see it? Right. So you see the cyclone effigy? I accidentally made this today. I didn't know you could scroll these. If you use your middle mouse wheel, if you have one, or you can set the scroll to something else, probably. You can scroll through a item that has a listing too long to read. I didn't know about it. I should have looked through the controls to find it, but hey, better late than never on learning stuff, right? Alright, let's make these legendary tokens. We have enough for one item, if it's a high enough level, or 2 items if we're maybe jurisprudent. How many do we have? We have 4. Okay, we only have room for 1 either way. Oh, and I guess we could also replace a belt too. If we can find it in the right, this is lightning and electrocute. Yeah, here's one. Here are 2 right here. Too bad it doesn't really help us any. None whatsoever. Yeah, let's focus on the foci. Elemental damage. Wow, that's a lot of damage. Although it would be okay if it were just lightning damage. So for this, we have physical plus the wow, so this is a tome that's used instead of a shield. Interesting. Activates when health drops below 40. That's not a bad skill. Although it's aether damage, so never mind. Tome of the Arcane Wastes. Huh. All damage plus elemental damage? Oh, it even helps out our 5th skill a little bit. What about... And the rest of these open up at 68. Okay, that's for the elemental damage. What about the lightning damage? Because that's really where we want to focus. That we're looking in the wrong place. 84, 94. See, it's all, kind of all over the place. And this is also 94. It would be the Codex of Truths, and that's about the only one we have. Okay. So in that case, I'm going to keep an eye on one, but let's look at another vendor, shall we? It's real like in Grim Dawn, Dawn of Masteries, you really want to make sure you look at all your options. Another one to kind of look at is maybe the Grim Quest vendors, or if you've got like an acid, acid, lightning, fire, or cold. You can also use the Diablo ones. Wrong token. Wrong vendor. Hopefully an offhand, good sir. elemental damage. Okay, we have a few. 50 and 75. Why? So the ones from Grim Dawn are just straight up better at this interval. And out of that, the only one that's even viable is the Antikythera mechanism. And it doesn't even have any skills that are useful for us. It does increase energy regen by 49%. It does increase casting speed, which this doesn't do. So the Antikythera mechanism might be very good. What about lightning, though? And then out of that, we have the Ovis Somnius, which I'm guessing is for Dream Mastery. And also only offers 50 and 75. Dang, I typically like Grim Quest for some of these. Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 are too specific for the classes involved. We don't have anything that's serviceable by Cataclysm. So I guess our main offhand we're going to be getting is going to be not the Empowered Stormcaller's effigy, but nice. I think I broke my rift. Yeah, I totally tapped L. This stream just isn't gonna go well, is it? I'll have to call it early because I accidentally mashed L. When the chat prompt isn't open. If the chat prompt ain't open, yeah. Look, there's an L. Sometimes I have to click it twice, by the way. It really sucks to have that happen, but there will be no way I can navigate back there. Navigate all the way up to Port Valbury just to die again. We'll have to call it early. But next time, what I intend to do is grind up to the point we died inside of the Port Valbury area, and then when we return, we can just continue right from that. I think that's fair, and if I die on camera again, I will just... Each time, we'll start back where we left off until we get it done. And I'll try to keep up with key production in the meantime. So the one we wanted for was the... Nope, it was elemental damage, wasn't it? Tome of the Arcane Wastes. Offensive energy. We even get a bonus to all skills, which is just fan-freaking-tastic. And we're good. We can't make anything else. Do we have any Raincaller powder? We sure do. And we want one of these. Now, we can replace it with this book. And we can go break down the idol. Good stuff. Dismantle. And we get the ammo back. That's excellent. Although, from what I understand, it's definitely not guaranteed.
So what brings you to my forge?
Nothing. I accidentally clicked on it. Okay, we've got that. We've got the augmented offhand. We've got the +1 to all the skills, which is awesome. Because totally having 19 or 16 points out of 10 is absolutely reasonable. Having like a 48% slow for 3 seconds on a target is totally reasonable. Yeah, this thing is great. I think even if we got the correct one at 94, I'm not sure we'd want to use it. Because the Tome of the Arcane Waste would just be that good. And it totally bumped up our DPS. It absolutely did. It did drop our energy regen, though. Ever so slightly. I think we might have lost a little bit in some stats, but hopefully we made up for it in things that actually matter. Look at that. 2,000 offensive ability with 15% chance to crit. Well, 15% chance to crit on the last attack target. Our defensive ability needs some work. A lot of work. But hopefully we will have the chance to do just that in the next episode. I am sorry for truncating this early. Especially when I've missed a stream, and I've missed another one for Wednesday. But I'm so far inured in my own life right now that I just cannot be making things up. They're just gonna have to be streams lost to time, and I'll have to figure out some way to make it up to you guys. Again, I appreciate everyone who's come here, everyone who's been here, everyone who's maybe just now coming in during the last, I don't know, half hour. Really appreciate it. I've already shilled during like the 3-hour mark, so I'm not going to do it again. There are links in the description. You could definitely go find those. I encourage you to do just that. And next time on Grim Dawn, we are going to hopefully get through Port Valbury, and if not, we'll find a way to make progress until we can finish. Port Valbury won't break us, but it is a more sincerely powerful dungeon. The amount of times it has broken me just trying to get through cannot be understated. Don't underestimate Port Valbury. Bring supplies. Bring supplies. You'll need them. As we will next week. For those of you who are on Twitch, I mainly platform on Twitch, by the way. Go check out my channel at www.twitchtv.com or twitch.tv/coinstamp. That's where I primarily play. Every Wednesday we play Blasphemous. Every Sunday we play Elden Ring Reforged. We have good times over there. Spread the word. If nothing else, spread the word to your friends that I stream every Wednesday and Sunday. I can't say I'm perfect, but I do my best to do just that. If you guys like RPGs, ARPGs, or action platformers, sometimes we do all of that stuff over there. We'll stream the games that Twitch won't. Apart from anything on their ban list. Like, I don't know. What is it? Yandere Simulator? Something like that. Of which the creator is not a very nice person. That's about all I'll say. But, yeah. Take care of yourselves. You guys are welcome in my halls anytime. My name is Coin, or Swirling Vortex, or Steven. You can call me any of those. And I will see you guys next time. Take care, and bye-bye.